So all of you keep reading. The next concept we are going to study friction force. So this is actually, there is a fundamental which we studied in lower classes also. The same principle we are going to continue here. So we all know that in class 8, basically you'll get the introduction of force and types of forces. In that one of the force is friction force. So by that time, you might be studied the types of friction also. So there will be two types of friction we have. One is static friction and another one is we used to say kinetic friction. So there is no much difference. The same thing which you studied in the lower classes, the same definition will continue here. Static friction means the friction possessed by the body when it is in state of rest. So simply if you want to say, if you are suppose imagine like you are in a class 8, so just if you can, if you want to say the definition, further I will say you that. Just you should understand static friction means the force, it is forced by when the objects are in rest. So first thing you should understand friction force is a contact force or non-contact force. That is the first thing, everybody. It is the yes,
Contact force.
contact force. So definitely how many bodies are involving? If it is a contact force, definitely two surfaces are involving. So unless the two surfaces will come physical contact, physical touch each other, so there is no frictional force. There is no possibility of frictional force. That is why it is called as contact force. So simply same way static friction means the friction possessed by the body when the two objects, the two surfaces are in state of rest. And kinetic friction means, if you want to simply study according to like 8th class, the friction possessed during the what? Motion. Understand all of you? So that's all it is. So now you observe all of you. This friction, you can notice it. Always there is a tendency of this friction. So you might be studying in class 8. Suppose if the body is trying to move like this direction, the frictional force is always act in the opposite direction. Am I right or wrong, everybody? Yes, please.
Sure.
That is what you might be studying. So when the body moves in forward direction, the frictional force will act in the backward direction. That is what we can say friction means is actually, it is the relative motion oppose. Actually, one surface is passing over the another surface. That is what relative motion. And it's opposing force. Understanding? So which is oppose the relative motion. That is only we used to call as friction or frictional force. So that is why we can say the frictional force in the sense of it is actually a tendency of relative motion opposing of relative motion. It's a tendency of opposes of relative motion. Means one surface is trying to move over the another surface, then there is a tendency of opposing that motion, that relative motion, that is only we used to call as friction. Or also we can say, and this frictional force always will act tangential, you can notice it, tangentially along the contact. So that is what, for example, this is one surface and this is the another surface. So what is the contacting area? This is the contacting area. Am I right or wrong, everybody? Yes, please.
Yes,
So
sir.
this is
Yes,
the
sir.
contacting area. So it will always act, all of you remember, tangentially along the contact. So what does it mean by it? So it will act always tangentially. What do you mean by tangentially? Perpendicularly. That is what? Along the tangent, along the contact. So that is what we used to call it as tangentially along the contact. Do you all understand, everyone? Clear? All of you? Now, this frictional force, as it is existed between how many surfaces, everyone? All of you? It will be existed between two surfaces. So please, all of you remember, the frictional force cannot be existed in alone. Always the frictional force exists in what? All of you. Exist in pair. Clear, everyone? And main thing, if you go back to the class 8, cause of friction, you might be remember that. So which surfaces will produce the friction more? Anybody? Rough surface or smooth surface? Roughness. Understanding?
Rough.
So roughness will decide the amount of friction exerted or possessed between the two surfaces. So that is what roughness or smoothness, that is the cause of friction. So between the two surfaces. So the main cause of friction, if you notice it, maybe the surface appears to be smooth for us, but if you observe with a magnifying glass, there is definitely irregularities of the surfaces. So one surface will contact with another surface. These irregularities will, what will happen? They will interlock. Understanding? So this interlocking only causing to exert the force called as, what is that force we used to call as? Everybody. Yes, please. Respond, Ra. Friction force. Understanding?
Frictional force.
So this is called as irregularities. So definitely there will be a size of irregularities for every surfaces. So there is no surfaces having the same kind of irregularities. Some surfaces having more irregularities, some surfaces having less irregularities. So when these irregularities will interlock each other, that is the cause of production of new force called as, what is that force, everyone? Frictional force. So when this surface is trying to over the first surface and this surface is also trying to over the second surface, so both the surface will exert the frictional force on each other. That is what always tendency to allow opposed to relative motion. So that is why we can study frictional force is actually opposing force. Always it will act opposite to the direction of what? All of you. Opposite to the direction of motion. Understanding? So that is what. But what motion? Relative motion. Both one surface is trying to move over the another surface. So that is what frictional force. Always that is why we can say opposing force, we can say opposing the motion. So these irregularities, if I take now two objects, all of you observe, this is object over placed over the second object. Let me take this is object A and this is object B. So as I told you, frictional force acted tangentially on the contact. So the frictional force exerted by B on A is suppose, for example, acting in this direction. Frictional force exerted by B on A is FAB. Then the frictional force exerted by A on B is FBA. Do you understand, Pradosh? Yes. So that is the reason always we can say frictional force is exist in what? All of you.
Pairs.
Pair. Clear, all of you? Understand, Amma? So that is what is friction. Now this friction, as I told you, simply already I have taught. Friction is two types. One is static friction. Another one is what? Everybody?
Kinetic.
Relative friction. So now let us observe, all of you, what do you mean by this? We can make it. So you can, this is what is very important. So one is static friction, another one is kinetic friction. So now observe, all of you, static friction means, see that when tendency of relative motion. Understand, all of you? Means in the sense of bodies, the bodies are not moving over each other. They are having a tendency to moving there. Do you understand, all of you? What do you mean by tendency, Mr. Pradosh? Tendency means they want to move, but when they will move, there will be a greater force than the frictional force. Am I right or wrong? Everybody clear? All of
Yes,
you?
sir.
So that is what. So there is not actually relative motion. There is a tendency of relative motion. Means in the sense of bodies are in what? Everybody. Bodies are in state of rest. But here
Rest.
kinetic friction means, suppose the car is traveling on the road, already is in motion. So the motion, still there is a force between the ground and the wheels of the car. That friction we used to call already relative motion. So relative motion is there, already existed. In this case, we can say body is said to be in what? All of you. Body is in motion. That is what we used to call as kinetic friction. Everybody clear? It's a tendency of relative motion. That is what we used to say state of rest. That is friction is called as static friction. And tendency already in motion. That is already in relative motion. Then that is called as kinetic friction. Now, let us discuss what is this kinetic friction and how the things will happening, how to calculate the kinetic friction of a body. That is all the things we'll discuss now. Are you ready? Everybody clear till here? Understand anything doubt? You can ask. So now let us discuss what is kinetic friction first. So this is one of the important concept for IIT, JEE and as well as NEET. Please mention that. So IIT, JEE as well as NEET. So both concepts are important. Static friction and as well as kinetic friction. Now, the first one we are going to discuss what everybody? We are going to make it as a kinetic friction. Okay. So let us see that what is kinetic friction, properties and numericals and all we'll discuss in our today's class. So kinetic friction, first one. So as we already studied kinetic friction definition, kinetic friction means what is that everybody? It is body is already in what? Motion. Relative motion. And you remember when the bodies are in motion, the kinetic friction, whatever the distance is body is traveling continuously, remains, this kinetic friction is remains. What is that everybody? Yes, please. Constant. That is what we can say. Kinetic friction will represent with the Fk. Fk is remains what all of you? Fk is remains constant. Clear? Next, this kinetic friction is directly proportional to N. What do you mean by N, everybody? Very, very important this one. So very important point. What is this one? N means what? N means what, Ra? Pradosh?
Normal rate.
Normal rate. Understand? So that is what I'm expecting. So now, if we remove the proportionality constant, we'll have to take some constant. Am I right or wrong, everybody?
Yes.
Yes, that constant only we used to called as mu k, which is known as coefficient of kinetic friction. What is that, everybody? Coefficient of kinetic friction. Coefficient of kinetic friction. Basically, this mu k is remains actually what? Basically, it is remains constant. But you keep it in mind, experimentally this value, this value depends on surfaces which are in contact. Surfaces which are which are in contact. So based upon the contact surfaces who are in contact, that mu k value will varies experimentally. But for our entire class 11th class, we will consider UK. That is what mu k will not change. We will assume that it is always remains. What is that? Remains
Constant.
That is your entire 11th and 12th syllabus will consider this mu k is always remains constant. So that is the third one. Next, the fourth one. So the direction of this kinetic friction. So direction of kinetic friction, always it will opposes relative motion. So that is what the points about kinetic friction. What is the kinetic friction formula? Kinetic friction is equals to coefficient of kinetic friction into N. N means what, everyone?
Normal.
That is the formula for kinetic friction. So kinetic friction is remains always constant. Understand, Amma? Second point, kinetic friction is always remains what? All of you, constant. Understand? That is what. So this kinetic friction will assume when the body is in what? Motion or state of rest? Motion. That is what? So kinetic friction, Fk is equals to mu k into N. That is the formula for kinetic friction. So this is what is kinetic friction and coefficient of kinetic friction and all. Now, let us solve the numericals related to that so that you will all understand. So till here, everybody understand, clear, completed, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let us take now, there is a surface, all of you observe very carefully. So there is a surface now, and there is a mass of the object who is actually having a 4 kg. How many kg mass, everybody? 4 kg. And actually 10 Newton force, pulling force is applying on that so that the body will keep on sliding on the surface. Am I right or wrong? Everybody clear? Am I right? Please respond. Now, so let me take all of you. The mu k is equals to constant. How much value I have given? 0.2. Now, the first question, first subdivision is find frictional force. Find frictional force. Which friction? Kinetic friction. Second one, acceleration of 4 kg block. So these are the two questions for you. So anybody can tell me how to find it? So it's very simple, which we already very familiar in the free body diagrams, FBDs and all. So what is the formula? Kinetic friction formula. That is what find frictional force, Fk. Fk is equals to what? Mu k into
Mu k into n.
right or wrong? That is what. So means in the sense of, we need to know first n. Mu k value we already knows. Mu k value how much it is? 0.2. N I want to know.
0.2.
So if I consider n, if there is an object which is having 4 kg, now all of you observe that there is a weight of the object which is acting always downward direction. That is what mg. Mg is equals to how much, guys?
4G.
So then normally will act always what direction? Upward direction. Am I right or wrong? That is what. So n is equals to what? N is equals to mg. So n is equals to 4g. So we all knows that g value is how much, guys? We'll consider g value is equals to 10. So normal is equals to how much? 4 into 10, which is equals to how much, ra? 40 Newton. That's all. So frictional force is equals to 0.2 into 40. So which is equals to how much, guys? Anybody can tell? 8 Newtons. That is the frictional force. How much kinetic friction? All of you? Kinetic friction is how
8
much?
Newton.
8 Newtons. So if the body is trying to, that applied force on the body is actually is how much? All of you? 10 Newtons. Then frictional force is acting how much? Everybody? 8 Newtons. So can you tell me now resultant force? Still what direction? Body will move or remains constant? Body will start
Moves.
understanding
Moves.
resultant force. You might be knows in 8th class, you might be studied. Resultant force is equals to forward forces minus backward forces. So forward forces is 10, backward force is 8.
-8.
Equals to how much, guys? All
2.
of you. 2 Newtons. Understanding? So that is what it is actually. So now we want to find acceleration. So we all knows that F net resultant force is equals to mass into acceleration. So mass is evala kg? 4 kg.
4
So
kg.
F net is 2, mass is 4 into acceleration. So acceleration is equals to
1 by 2.
which is equals to how much, guys?
0.5
0.5 meter per
second square.
second. That's the acceleration. So body will start moving or remains in state of rest. Everybody. Body will
Motion.
start motion.
Motion.
All of you. So what is the maximum start kinetic friction here exerting? All of you. Yes, please respond. So the frictional force is actually 8. The frictional force is less than the applied force. So that is why the body is in motion or state of rest. Everybody. Body is in state of motion. Okay. So that is what you should remember. Write it now. Understand, Mr. Narayan? Mr. Monish? Rudreswa?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So please
Yes,
do
sir.
it. Any doubt anybody can ask. Mr. Rishi, clear? Sai Karthik? Murali?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So acceleration of the body is 0.5 meter per second square. That's all. Clear, everybody? Understand? All of you? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Next question. So all of you open next question. So I'll teach you even 2 more questions, then you can experience it. So second question. So this is again the concepts which we studied previously also how to apply it. So again, there is a 4 kg body I am taking. So now all of you observe the force is applied. The applied force is 10 root 2 Newtons. How many Newtons, everybody? Applied force is equals to, yes please, 10 Newtons. Understanding? So with angle it has been applied 45 degrees. How much angle it has been applied, everybody? Yes please. 45 degrees. And the coefficient of constant which is equals to 0.3. So this is what it is. Now, Roman number 1, find n. Roman number 2, find Fk, Roman number 3, acceleration. Yes. Anybody can tell? First, find n they are saying. So is it possible to find the n like before case? Anybody can tell? All of you? Before case, the force is applied directly horizontal, but now it is not horizontal, it is inclined surface. So is it possible to find the force like before case? Sorry, normal reaction. Everybody? Yes? At least?
Sir, X compound.
No, it is not possible to find. So now observe very carefully how to find. Yes, Rudreswar,
Sir,
if it is
10
inclined surface, what will happen? We'll get a how many cases? So it is inclined resultant.
X and Y.
It is a resultant force, all of you. Remember that. So there will be, if it is inclined surface means always will be having two components. What is that? Here is the theta. Theta is equals to 45 degrees. Then here what will come? F cos.
10 root 2.
Yeah, F cos
Cos
45.
theta.
And
45.
here vertical direction, what will happen? F sine
Sine 45.
Sine 45 degree.
Okay, and already normal reaction, which is actually upward direction, and downward direction, weight of the body. Weight of the body is equals to how much?
4G.
4G.
4G. Okay, so now components, you can check it. F means 10 root 2, and cos 45 means what? 1 by root 2. Root 2 will get cancelled 10. And same way, F value 10 root 2 into sine 45 also. What is the answer, everybody?
1 by root 2.
1 by root 2. So which is cancelled 10. So that is what it is. So now you want to find normal. So we all knows that if the body is acting, you can see that normal and as well as one more force is acting upward direction. What is that? How much value?
10 Newton.
10 root 2.
10 Newton. And down we are acting weight which is equals to 4G. So I will write 4G is equals to n plus 10. Am I right? 4 into G value we all knows that. G equals to how much, everybody? 10. So 40 is equals to n plus 10 and n is equals to how much, guys?
30.
30 newtons. Understanding, all of you? Clear, everybody? So before case, what is a normal reaction? Before case, what is a normal reaction? 40. Am I right? All of you? And now what is a normal reaction you got?
30.
20 only. So do you understand what is the difference between applying the force horizontally and as well as inclined surface? Everybody clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. No response. That is what it is. Clear, everybody? That is the next you have to find it what? Frictional force. That is, sorry, kinetic friction. So kinetic friction formula is mu k into n. So mu k value I mentioned 0.3, n value is 30. So which is equals to how many newtons? All of you?
9.
9 newtons. So that is what it is. So all of you observe very carefully. The body is moving with the 10 Newton force, 10 root 2 in forward direction, and back it is acting with a 9 newtons. So that what will happen? All of you. So we all knows that net resultant force. What will happen? 10 root 2 minus 9 is equals to, that is what F net is equals to MA. So mass is 4 kg. So what will happen? 4 into A. So 10 root 2 minus 9, anybody can tell? 10 root 2 value, I think 14.1. Am I right or wrong, everybody? Yes? Please respond.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That is what. So, or else you can write it 10 root 2, 10 root 2 into 10 root 2 minus 9. What, I don't know. Exactly you can find A. So you'll get it. A value will come. So now you can do it 10 root 2 minus 9 divided by 4. Then you'll get the A value. So A value something will come. Meter per second square. Solve it and tell me how much it will come.
Sir, 3.5.
3.5 meter per
Second.
Second, sir.
second square. How 3.5? Rudreswar? Check it. It's wrong. First, how much? 10 root 2. Am I right?
Sir, 1.2, sir. 1.28.
That's what. So you have to be very careful. So 10 root 2 means 14.1 minus 9. Am I right? Which is equals to
Yes, sir.
5.14. 5.14 divided by 4. How much it is? All of you?
1.28.
Yeah, 1.28. That is what? Wrong answer. 1.28 meter per second square. Mr. Prados, have you got the same answer?
Yes, sir.
Clear? Completed means let me know. Yes? Love you. Completed?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if you are completed, that's fine. Then next question. So now you can see this will be entirely different from this. For those solved or not, Ra?
Sir, solved, sir.
Yeah. Next question. So this is how the kinetic friction questions will come. So now the next question is again, let me take the same 4 kg body. Now the force is applied with angle. See that, observe very carefully, with angle 45 degrees. Same. Applied force is F is equals to 20 root 2. How much it is? 20 root 2. Okay. And the frictional constant, that is what? Equals to 0.3. Then again the same thing. Find N. Problem number 2. Find frictional force. Sorry. That kinetic friction. Roman number 3. Acceleration. Clear everybody? All of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please. So this is what. So I will teach, no issues. You can practice it. You observe very
Sir,
carefully.
N20.
Yes. Yes, Rudreshwar. What is F? What is N?
20.
20. Wrong. Okay. So observe very carefully. This force is acting like this direction. Means in the sense of it is acting like this. Am I right, Mr. Pradosh? Laksha, understand this
Yes,
one?
sir.
Yeah. So that is what you should be very careful always. The direction. So now the direction of force is, see that before here it is applying. Now it is applying like this. Mr. Sai Karthik, are you solving?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now the force is applied like this direction. So means in the sense of the direction of force is this is. So which is equals to how much it is? 20
Root 2.
20 20 root 2. Understand all of you? So there will be a 2 components always. As we all knows that angle is always same. Whatever the angle is here, the angle is throughout the line is same. Am I right or wrong? Everybody clear?
Yes, sir.
Or no? So that is what. So angle here it will become, how much is the angle? Anybody can tell me. Here also it will become how much? If I take here,
45 degree.
yeah, 45 degrees it will become. So here is the 45 means opposite is also 45. So this is 45 degrees. So here how much it will come? F cos 45. And here what will happen?
Sin
F
45.
sin 45.
Sine
9
45.
40.
Okay. And there is a force actually again already acting. What is that force acting here? 4G. Am I
40.
right? 4G
4G.
weight. Weight
Yes,
is
sir.
acting downward direction. Clear everybody? Understand or not?
Yes,
All
sir.
of you? That is what. So we all knows that F cos 45. So F means 20 root 2 into cos 45 1 by root 2. So root 2 will get cancelled. What is the value? 20. Same way F2 F sin 45. 20 root 2 into sin 45 what? 1 by root 2. Root 2 will get
1
cancelled.
by root.
20. So that is what is happening. So now I want normal. So now I will simplify the body. FBD you can draw. So 4 kg. So there is upward force which is acting normal. Understanding? And there is a force which is acting downwards 4 kg. Sorry, 4G, not 4 kg. And there is another force which is acting. You can notice it. So all of you. So what is the answer will come? There is another force which is acting downward direction, which is equals to how much? 20. Am I right or wrong, everybody? Clear? Yes. So that's all. So normal is equals
Yes,
to
sir.
20 plus 4G. So as we all knows that G value is 10. So that normal is equals to how much? 20 plus
60.
yeah, 20 plus 4 into 10. So which is equals to 40. So which is equals to how much, guys? Normal is equals to fastly
60.
60. Next, Fk. So frictional kinetic friction is equals to coefficient into N. Coefficient is 0.3. N is 60. So which is equals to how much? How much, Ra? Yes, please. 18. Am I right or wrong? All of you? Yes. Understand or not? So that is what. So next acceleration. So applied force is 20 newtons and the kinetic friction is 18 newtons. So the resultant force is equals to what? 820 minus 18 is equals to mass is 4 kg. So 4 into A. That's all. So now 2 is equals to 4A. From that, A is equals to what, guys? 1 by 2, which is equals to 0.
0.5 meter per
meter
second
per
square.
second square. That's all is the acceleration. So this is what is kinetic friction and how you need to solve the kinetic friction. So it's very, very important. So everybody should solve. You should understand how to solve the kinetic friction. But this concept applying inclined surfaces, how to find this all the concepts already we people knows. Do you remember everyone? We studied or not? Everybody? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So that is what.
Yes, sir.
Remember that we are already familiar with that concept. Mr. Narayan, understand, Mr. Narayan? Murali, Pradosh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir.
So this is what things. So you can find
Sir.
many questions if you open that Sri Chaitanya material, which is I have sent recently. You will find many questions related to the static friction. So you can solve it so that you're having next 15 more minutes. You are having time. So you can solve 1 or 2 questions. So definitely you'll experience it. So the way how to solve. Okay. So then we will go with the concept called as yes, Rudreswa. Anything doubt?
Sir, we can't take that left side, the object is moving, sir. The
Yeah.
theta.
Which one? This one. Dynamic.
Last sum we put inclined
Listen.
angle right side, sir.
Listen,
To object
Dresser,
move right.
now, listen. Now there is an object. You might be. I know you will ask that doubt. There is an object. If I am pushing, this is actually pulling. We used to call it as pulling. I applied 10√2. Am I right or wrong?
Yes, sir.
So that means in the sense of body is moving in this direction only. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now there is an object, same object. I am applying the force in this direction. Now also the body is moving in the same direction. Do you understand? Clear?
Okay, sir.
Understand,
Yes,
sir? So that is what you have to be very, very careful. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So that is what here this force is always, we all knows that angle is everywhere same. Am I right or wrong? Wherever I take. Understanding? So this
Yes,
angle
sir.
is 45 degrees means then everywhere angle is 45 degrees only. Correct? So the 45 degrees means actually here we made wrong. Very good. So here is theta is coming. So if I draw here at this point, so here is the theta. You can see here. So 2 components are there. So as we know here theta is this equals to this angle. Mathematics, am I right or wrong? If I take this one, so if this angle is theta means then this angle is also become theta. Right or wrong?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So that's all. So here theta will come. So here what will happen? F cos theta and here F sin theta. That's all.
Fine.
So like that we can solve it. Okay. Understand?
Okay, sir.
So that is what. So you have to be very, see both cases, if I am up, this is actually push and this is actually what? Pull. Understand?
Pull.
Yeah, both
Yes, sir.
cases, but body is moving in the same direction. Do you notice that?
Yes, sir.
That is. So we have to be very, very careful in that. Understand? Brothers, you
Yes, sir.
understand, brothers? Same thing. So Monish,
Yes, sir.
yeah. So you should be very, very, very particular in this. If you are very clear in this only then. Yes.
Sir.
Yes, brothers.
Answer same only, no.
Which one? Where? Here, acceleration. Huh?
No, sir. Second case, if pull also.
Oh, pull also the answer is same. See, answer in the sense of the frictional force. I'm saying the frictional force is different. If you notice it, have you noticed that?
Yes, sir.
The frictional force is before case it is come only 9. As the
Yes.
9 now it is frictional force is that's sorry the kinetic friction is coming now 18. Before is 9 only.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now always you remember that. See, if there is a 2 surfaces, for example, this is one surface and this is the over another surface. So now, if this surface is trying to move over this first surface, then there is a static friction here. Understanding? So sorry, kinetic friction. That is what the kinetic friction always act in this direction. Clear? And by the time, if suppose this body is trying to move over this, let it be this body remains constant. We solved already like this sum. So do you remember? without
Sir.
movement of
Sir,
the first
frictionless
body.
surface.
Yeah, frictionless surface. If you drag this body will fall off as soon as this body will overcross. Frictionless surface. We
Yes,
create
sir.
solved. Remember
Oh.
that? So by that
Yes, sir.
time, if you imagine there is a friction, then the friction exerted by this body will act in this direction. Clear? Understanding?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that is what you should be always very careful. That is why we can say frictional force is always acting in a pair. So we already solved a frictionless surfaces numericals also. Okay, so that is what whenever you are solving, you have to make it very clear that. Okay, so that is what now. So Ishal is having some doubt in some questions. Laksha is also having some doubt. Let's post those questions in group. Whomever, let them try. If anybody able to understand, please put your solution in group so that let them understand. Okay, Laksha, Ishali, that is a team spirit. So that your wisdom will your wisdom will grow like better understanding of question. That understanding the question is the major thing now. So more than a solving, because conceptualization is very important for JEE and as well as NEET. We are not preparing for a state board exam or something by hearting. So nothing by hearting. If there is a question, post in a group, ask friends, if you know anybody, please kindly help. You just put a message in the group. It's nothing mean that always only I should message and you should respond only. Okay, sir. If you have a question, you send it. Let them solve. Let them try. Different people will try. If anybody will solve, immediately post that answer in group. In that particular, they will ask step means you can send a voice message in group also. Nothing wrong in that. Or else personally also. No boy, no girl, nothing. You can work together. Then only you people can make it. Okay. So please kindly focus on that. And this finish it still kinetic friction. So kinetic friction is over. Then we will start in tomorrow's class static friction. Is it okay, everybody? Clear?
Sir.
Now, so now